Yo, what's going on, everybody? Tuesday night, you know what that means. Hockey Happy Hour coming at you live tonight. We got live reactions to the Flyers and Hurricanes. First live reaction show in a while. So we're going to do that. We're going to cover a little recap of the first period. We're gonna live react to the second period. We got some news to talk about going on around the league. And we're going to do a little review from the games against the New York teams. I know not a lot of people are going to want to do that, but there's things we need to talk about as far as those games go. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, comment in. We want to hear from you guys. Let's go talk some puck.
What's up, my family? Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Slap.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah!
What the are you talking about?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour live here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Sensuti, along with the Dark Wing, Brian Daly.
What up?
And the Broken One, Rob Povia.
Let's go, Flyers.
Yeah. And Mr. Blue Shirt, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Switzerland, Big Bad Brad Ryer.
Oops.
We're off to a great start already. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Happy Hour. Once again, brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy. The doc, Dr. Paul Vidal. You got any aches and pains like Brad just gave himself there? Go see the doc. He'll take care of you. Hit them up online, www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com. And then after you make your appointment, either Cherry Hill or Burlington, New Jersey, go visit their team of highly trained professionals so you won't have any more aches and pains. And our poll question for today brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off of your in-store purchase. You have some good food, some good hockey like we're going to have tonight. And the poll question is, the Flyers can build momentum with a win versus the Hurricanes. Agree or disagree? And right now, the Flyers are off to a bit of a precarious start as they are down 1-0 here towards the end of the first period. Early on, it was a pretty strong showing from the Hurricanes at the beginning, but the Flyers have kind of reared it back a little bit. Anyway, gentlemen, can the Flyers build up momentum against the Hurricanes? I myself am going to say yes, because beating the Hurricanes is always a good momentum booster, because the Hurricanes are a cup contender, or at least they should be considered a cup contender. Whether they will achieve their ultimate goal or not, well, that's up to them to decide at the end of the day when playoffs roll around. But all the same, yes, I believe it will build up momentum if they can get this win tonight. How do you guys feel?
Before I jump into that, Priz, what are you on right now, bro? Everything you're commenting in is in Spanish.
He hit the sap button.
I love it. He did hit the sap button. He did. I love it. I wish I just knew exactly what he was saying. Good for you, Priz, for being bilingual. I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna agree to the poll. I mean, these first two games against the Hurricanes were in game 3 of 4. Pretty much went the Flyers' way. Flyers, I don't want to say manhandled, but you know they pretty much beat Carolina in dominating fashion in game 2. They had pretty much the majority of the control in game 1. Just a bad turnover cost them the game. I think they could have won that game as well. Yeah, Maddie, like you said, anytime you beat a cup contender, that could be a momentum boost. That's a morale boost, especially for a young team that's still trying to find a little bit of an identity. A team that's really struggling on the power play this year. So you gotta figure out ways to score goals here, especially against a team like this. No Freddie Anderson this time. You got Peter Kochetkov in the net. He's a beatable goalie. When he does get hot, he does really play very well, especially with that defense in front. So, a absolute monster game here tonight. You had a pretty lackluster last 3 games against the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers. You got to build off of something. So if I'm the Flyers, I win this game. I go up against the Devils, and I'm feeling a little bit better about that matchup.
Gotcha. Robbie, how are you feeling on the poll?
Of course, it's got to build momentum. You know, you're in a pretty even series here, 1 game apiece, and you know that this Hurricanes team, despite being without Svechnikov tonight, surprisingly scratched due to an illness, are still coming in with a chip on their shoulder and adjustments that have been made from their last game played to where they're going to, you know, try to implement their will here against Philadelphia Flyers. So anytime you can beat a team coming in with a chip on their shoulder, also a fellow Metro Division, you know, rival. We talked about all last show how a series of 7 games here against the Metropolitan Division. This was going to be a huge statement opportunity for the Philadelphia Flyers. Well, he got off to a rough start there, and a kind of a predicted start, as I said. I thought that they would struggle on a size issue on that first game out on the island, and of course, to the league's best team, the New York Rangers. They got put in their place in the first 2 minutes of that game, but to come back and win that game, and if you can come back home now, be a strong Carolina Hurricanes team, even up that 2-2 over this stretch of 7 games, heading into the Devils game, heading into that home and home with Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's the momentum you need.
All right, then. And Brad, how do you feel?
Absolutely. I mean, if they can pull this off and beat the Hurricanes, I mean, look, you had 3 tough games. You had 1 at the Island, then you had to play the Rangers, and the way the Rangers are playing right now, it's not the time to be playing them. And then they have to go back to the Nassau Coliseum to play the Islanders again, and the Islanders are pretty good at home. And they're a very good defensive team, and we all know just how good what's his name, Sorokin is against the Islanders. That's a big win. And you know what? If they can go ahead and take this one, being 1-2 against it with that kind of a schedule is not a disgrace by any stretch of the imagination. It's kind of like you just don't want to see them go 0-3. And the fact that they won the last game and now they have a chance to win against Carolina, to have 2 in a row, and that would be huge going into Pittsburgh, and playing the Devils. I think that this team has really shown a lot of resiliency. I mean, listen, the Ranger game was a tough loss. Let's be honest. And then you get into a game with the Islanders where they're playing the Islander style, defense first, and there's no goals scored at all until you get to the shootout. Then you score a goal, you win the game in the shootout. And now you come home and you're playing a big game against the Canes. Yeah, this is the kind of game that could definitely start a real winning streak if they can pull this off. Because it would definitely give them confidence going into the next 3 games. And they that's what you want to see. And I really got to give them credit for being so resilient. That was just huge to be able to come back and shut out the Islanders on the road. I mean, shutouts on the road in the NHL are very, very difficult. That is not easy to do. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care if you're playing the Sharks or you're playing the Golden Knights. Doing it on the road is very tough to do. So, Torts has been playing good defensively. I think sometimes they are a little undisciplined and take too many penalties, and maybe they should decline when they get the power play. I don't know what else to say. I've seen that from the Rangers sometimes, where the power play is so bad, you're just like, all right, just can we go shorthanded? We may do better scores shorthanded. I've seen that with that team, so I know how you guys feel. But yeah, this is a huge game, okay? Because you know what, right now, and I don't care what anybody says about rebuilding, blah 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 blah. You want to try to make the playoffs. The best way to get yourself into and out of a rebuilding is to make the playoffs or be relevant in April. And being relevant means you've got to beat some of these teams in the division. And let's go. You got to change. You're 1-1 against against a very good Hurricanes team. You got game 3 at home. Let's go ahead and win this game. Play if one thing about the key to beating Carolina is you've got to be really, really disciplined, because Carolina they're not going to make a lot of mistakes, and they're going to drag you along into a one of those games where there's no open ice, and it's going to be like everybody's skating in mud, and that's the kind of game Carolina plays. You got to be patient, because they will make mistakes, but you can't force the action because they're too good. And if you force something, you'll end up making a mistake, and they will put the puck in the net if you make the mistake. So let's see what they can do and come back. They're only down 1 right now, so let's see what happens.
All right. So Priz gives us an answer. He said he's been doing Duolingo, and he's on day 64. So obviously he's been learning some heavy Spanish that he's been getting into. So okay.
Well, maybe he can teach me.
Yeah. Hey, listen, never a bad thing to have the ability to speak 2 languages, especially where Prisley, he lives in Texas. So, not too far away from Mexico. So, what could always use a little bit of Spanish. Yeah. So, and we got Joe saying Sorokin, Shesterkin. Sorokin was a murderer's row of goalies last week. He absolutely was. And the Flyers looking great. They have been. I mean, Sorokin, he was the reason the Islanders won the first meeting between the two. And then he almost stole the second one. He almost did. But luckily, the Flyers got a little lucky. They wound up winning in all things a goddamn shootout. Like, geez.
36 shots.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was a ridiculously high number for the season.
They dominated that game.
They were. It was a ridiculously high number for the regular season, but Sorokin was just stopping everything. And like I said, he almost stole the second of the 2 meetings between the Flyers and the Islanders. So, again, crazy. So, let's see here. Any other major comments coming in here? And Roska says he speaks English and Romanian. Interesting. Also, Priz went on to say he has no hablo Klingon, which, I mean, I don't know how many people speak that. I mean, you talk about a useless skill. Whew, there's a useless one right there for you.
Absolutely.
Does he speak Pig Latin?
I mean, I don't know.
I want to touch on something that Brad said real quick, and I completely agree with him when he says it doesn't matter if you're a rebuilding team or not. You got to want to make the playoffs, and every team going into the season's goal, whether you're a rebuilding team or not, is to win as many games as you possibly can and get back to the playoffs. This is what I want to add to that. This team already have that mentality that they want to win as many games as possible and they want to get back to the playoffs. They had that mindset going into the season. They had it in training camp. And I think you're seeing that with the effort that they're putting out every night. Like I said, we're almost in December. The Flyers have yet to really get blown out in any aspect of this season so far. I mean, you could possibly say the LA game. I know Brad, you brought that up. It was either last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about it. The score didn't dictate how close that game actually was. Flyers had a ton of scoring chances. Cam Talbot was just on it that night. That could have very easily been a 6-5 game going either side. Just no finish. But, this team continuously puts in effort. This team, they battle hard every night. The addition of Ristolainen back in the lineup now, that's going to add a little bit of more physicality on the back end. That's going to be potentially good for the defense. We'll see how that continues to go as he, continues to progress and plays a little bit more. But this is a team that wants to get back to the playoffs. They see themselves as rebuilding, but also in that same breath, that locker room sees themselves as a playoff contender right now. And we're going to obviously see moves made. We're going to see things done throughout the season. Keith Jones has already come out and said he's only going to make a move that's going to make sense for them. And it's got to be a long-term move for it to make sense for them. But this team, they're not getting the results every night, but as long as they continue to put forth this effort, play well, battle hard, roll 4 lines, this team is gonna be in a wild card chase. I don't think they're gonna finish in a division spot, but I think they could definitely be a wild card contender come March and April if they continue this effort.
There's one problem, Brian. Tampa Bay and Detroit and Toronto and Florida and Boston. They could steal all the wild cards.
Well, the way Boston's playing right now, Boston's taking a division spot. So is Toronto.
Huh?
The way Boston and Toronto are playing right now, they're in division spots.
Yeah, no, I know, but Florida's in second place now, aren't they?
At the moment.
Yeah, and they got both. They got Ekblad back, and they got Montour back. So, they're going to be tough. All I'm saying is they're going to have to outdo Florida. Basically, in my opinion, they're going to have to outplay Detroit and Florida. That's going to be the key.
I agree, but also I'm not saying that they're making a playoff spot. I'm not saying that they're going to compete for one.
I think they can. Because you know what they play. They do play defense first, and they're able to score playing in that kind of a system, and that's something that good teams can do, and they're doing that. You haven't seen it completely because their defense is young and it's inexperienced, and they still make mistakes. But I've from what I've noticed, they do seem to think defense first, and they don't get reckless, and that's the kind of team that can make the playoffs. I mean, I think really what it's going to come down to is if they can hang around, you might see them go and try to get a sniper whom they can keep long term, not a rental, but a guy that maybe has 1 year left, who they could pick up, relatively on the cheap, and then go ahead and sign long term, kind of like what the Islanders did with Pajot. And what's his name? Who did the Islanders get? Who's the other one that I should know because I'm watching the damn game? Besser? No, not Besser. Who did they get from the Canucks last year?
Oh, Horvat.
Bo Horvat. Yeah, somebody like that just to add to the team. Because I think they really, if they're going to improve on their power play, which is what they need to do very badly, they need to get a sniper badly.
So, Kyle Elliott saying, what happens first? Torts names a captain or Torts gets fired? I'm going to say he names a captain before a firing.
Might say neither. I don't think he's ever going to name a captain. But I think they're committed to at least giving him an opportunity to win with this team, too, before making any judgments on his job security. So, I don't know. I mean, eventually this team will get a captain, whether that be a prize draft pick, say in a Mitchkoff, or a guy that's been here for a while, like a Sean Couturier or TK. I think TK has picked up his bill in Tort's book in terms of his captaincy possibility. So, yeah, I mean, you'd like to see it name a captain, but hey, a lot of teams can win with a bunch of A's,
Absolutely. It's just a letter. I mean, I think the fans put more emphasis behind it than the players do, because there's a lot of guys. I mean, how many Flyers have we seen not wearing a letter step up and talk, step up and be a leader? It's not, the letter means nothing. It's the person that's wearing the letter.
True. If you're not, you could give somebody a C, but they might crack under the pressure.
You have to pick the right guy.
Right.
You really do, because I think that's important. I think it's a very easy choice for the Flyers. Sean Couturier should be the captain. I think they're just waiting to see if he can play all the games and stay healthy before they go ahead and name him the captain. He's the heart and soul of that team. He may not score as much as some of the other guys, but make no mistake, he is the heart and soul of the team. Big face-off, he's coming out there, and it seems to me like he's the leader of that team. And maybe and again, I'm I'm not a Flyer fan, so I'm just being, I as not having a favorite Flyer player or anybody else. I see him as the guy that should probably be the captain. I think eventually they'll have him be the captain.
All right, then. I mean, honestly, I'm fine with them just rocking with the no captain, even if they do it for another year. And the reason I say that is because you know what? Really makes somebody earn it at the end of the day. Really makes someone prove, like, hey, 1 year, okay, it's 1 year. Show me you can do it again. Maybe then I might consider you. Make it as hard as possible for them to prove to you they're worthy of the captaincy. Why? Because then you'll know, all right, you got what I'm looking for. That's the one thing that I think they should do. Because sometimes I think teams get a habit of just slapping a C on somebody rather quickly, and they don't think too much on it. And I think that this is a chance for the Flyers to say, hey, you want that C? It's going to stay vacant until you prove yourself.
Right.
You know?
It's not a bad idea. Look, the Rangers did it, right? They took 3 years before they finally committed with the rebuild to name a captain, and they picked Trouba. You know what? Trouba was the right choice. There is no question about it. He is the heart and soul of that team, and he is the bad boy. He's now the bad boy of the league, and all I can say about that, guys, is we finally have one of those guys.
Nice.
We've they're the most polite team in the league never wins. We know that because we've been the most polite team in the league too long.
Right.
Speaking of impolite, you've got a few impolite guys on your team too, by the way.
There's
They've been showing their impoliteness lately as well, especially in those 3 games in New York. But hey, boys, let's make no mistake about it, though. This team is on a rebuild, and Keith Jones came out, I think, to your point, Brian, in that interview with The Athletic, saying that, we'll explore winning now possibilities, but make no mistake, this team is in rebuilding mode. They'll look to shed expiring contracts, especially on defense. You got 2 guys playing very well, and Nick Seeler and Sean Walker, who could be good assets for teams at the deadline. Their expiring contract. Mark Stahl, maybe you could trade him for a parking cone, but you still might be able to get something for him too. And I think those are going to be the guys that, I still see this team as a seller, despite them sitting 3rd in the Metro. But they do have the confidence in themselves that they can do now, so it's not mutually exclusive, but I see where their head's at, and it's refreshing to hear that you're seeing a bunch of ex-Flyers not getting caught up in the hoopla, so to speak,
Right, and that's a very important thing to pull from that, is that Jonesy's saying the right things. He's not, his opinion, which obviously would mean Danny's opinion too, that hasn't changed. It's the sense of, listen, we know where we're at. We know what we still got to do. We're not, yes, the team's doing well, but we're still nowhere near finished. We are still a work in progress. That's important, that a GM and a president of hockey and the organization in general doesn't get caught up in the moment. And the Flyers are guilty of that. They're guilty of it a lot. I mean, just look at the past regimes for the better part of 3 decades now. And there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking because the team's doing better than they thought they were going to be doing. Or they're doing worse, and then they try to fix the situation, and we've already been down that road. But you get my point. So it's good to see. Like you were saying, Rob, very refreshing. So Joe's saying, by the way, that Brad gives such level-headed, unbiased opinions when he's live on the air. But when he is using his fingers typing in the comment section of Facebook pages, he is a troll, Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, I only do that because of the relentless attack on my Giants.
I see. So you're coming to the defense of the Giants. I got you.
Precisely. So there's really no defense of the Giants, because if you watch every game like I do, you know what the deal is.
Right.
You watch their offensive line, and you want to stick your finger down your throat. literally on every offensive play because you're praying that our number 3 quarterback, he doesn't get hurt as well.
Tommy DeVito, Bergen
Yeah.
Catholics pride.
Yeah.
Joy. Is that a good story though for playing for New York Giants? Come on.
It's a great story. You know what? He's proving something that Daniel Jones could never prove is that, no matter how bad the offensive line is, you still have to go back there, complete passes, and not turn the ball over. And he's doing that. Daniel Jones, no, just not it. But anyway, getting back to the Flyers though, guys. As I said, they need to try to make the playoffs. You know what? Who would have thought in the beginning of December they'd be sitting in a playoffs position right now? Okay, and they're competing with the big boys. Look, they got off to a terrible start against the Rangers. Okay, they came out, they were a little careless. I think they got themselves too hyped for the game, got very careless, and got behind them immediately. And if you a young team going down 2-0 to the Rangers the way they're playing right now, there's no way you're gonna come back from that. You're just not. And then you throw in Igor playing the way he did. There was just no way you guys were going to come back from that. But you know what? As I said, the resiliency of your team, the way they come back from tough losses is just remarkable. They've been doing it all season, guys. All season. You come back after you get clobbered at home by the Kings, and then you go out there and you kick their asses. I mean, good for you. I mean, listen, you lost to San Jose, and you're able to go out and beat the Kings, and then you beat Vegas. I mean, look.
And you beat Anaheim.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to rub that in, Brian, because
Look,
it's all right.
Listen, I know where my team's at. It's okay.
Your team. I can't say anything positive right now. Too positive.
I can't say anything positive about them. They're not doing shit.
I don't
smacked
understand the whole
8-2.
thing with. Yeah, they
listen. At least it wasn't a 10 spot.
That's the second time this year they got smacked 8-2. It's the second time in 2 weeks.
Still not a 10 spot. So
and what's going on with Zegras, by the way?
He's hurt. He's on the IR.
Oh God.
By the way, if the playoffs were to start today, the Flyers would be ironically taking on the Carolina Hurricanes in that matchup. So very ironic.
Very favorable the way they've been playing this year.
Yeah.
And by the way, you want to talk about just how big a win and how good a win the Flyers had against the Islanders. The Islanders right now are up 4-2 in New Jersey at the Rock. And Devil fans cannot make any excuses tonight because guess what? Hershey's in there and Hughes is in there. No excuses.
So we're going to take a look at a few of the comments here from the fan, and then we'll switch over to the first period, recap what we saw in the first. Kyle Elliott also saying Atkinson seems to have disappeared, and now that he's down on a line, it's like how JVR's production fell off a cliff when he wasn't on the top line with a skill guy feeding him nonstop.
Yeah, that's true.
Jake saying, what up, fellas? I agree with the poll. Wasn't expecting much from this year, but they're young and really fun to watch.
Sure are.
Priz saying, Kings goalies are pleasantly surprised me. I thought they'd be cooked, but that pairing they got in the net.
I mean, real quick, Cam Talbot's been pretty good for the Kings. That Kings defense is pretty good. And I was with Priz. I didn't think their goaltending was going to hold up. I was wrong.
Joey saying, what's the deal with Corey Perry? Well, we're going to address that a little bit later on in the show when we go around the league. We're going to talk about what's happened with Corey Perry and why he has been sent down on waivers. And then after he clears, his current contract will be terminated by the Chicago Blackhawks. Swoopy saying, hey, what's up, Swoopy? Anthony said hey earlier. Joe saying, so what's up with Noah Cates' injury? I know we did see a couple of addressments of that in the chat, but for those who don't know, he does have a lower body injury. Kyle here does have it right up here along with Rob. I believe you threw out that as well as you, Bry. Noah Cates will miss 6 to 8 weeks because of the lower body injury, which sucks because, Cates, I feel like he's having a bit of he's kind of been a little MIA. And I was hoping that maybe he'd pick his game up. Maybe this is what the problem was. Maybe he did have something nagging him out of camp, possibly, or maybe he had something else bothering him, and this injury just compounds the fact.
It's a possibility, Maddie, but I remember this in the second Islander game. He took a hard shot off a Ryan Pollock slap shot in the second period. He came out for a little bit. I think he came back and finished. He obviously finished the game. But they found a bigger issue detected after the game. I think that it was from that block shot. But yeah, it couldn't have come up at a worse time for Noah Cates, who was already losing playing time in the top 6, being moved down to bottom, fourth line. Even Ryan Paling being moved up to the third line. So his play was down, and now he's going to be down and out for 6 to 8 weeks with that lower body.
Yeah, rough time for Noah Cates right now.
Would that give them an opportunity to move Cam Atkinson up? Just
not at first. No,
again, I'm not.
No, I get you. It's a center iceman issue. So basically, what it does is you're gonna be able to have Morgan Frost, Brink, and Forrester in the lineup. But I think that they're liking Forrester up on that top line with TK and Coots for now.
I do too.
Well, they like it. I don't know. I mean, Forrester has played well, and you want him to develop that type of nose for the light in a top line. But I mean, give him. I mean, I don't know. Being on the set in the top 6, it should be good enough for Cam, but I think that might be eventual where you could juggle lines during the game and put Atkinson with them.
Swoopy saying, as I've said a million other times, I absolutely love watching the Carolina Hurricanes play hockey. Never want to take my eyes off the TV when they're playing. And Priz saying, let me ask all 4 of you one question. If the Flyers are 6 points out of a playoff spot at the deadline, do you buy, sell, or stand pat? Well, Keith Jonesy's saying that they're still going to be looking to shed. So how do you guys feel? So say you're Jonesy, or I'm sorry, you're Danny. Do you buy, sell, or stand pat at the deadline, even if you're only 6 points out of a playoff spot?
I think it's going to depend on who's available at that time. I think Sean Walker right now, as much as he's an expiring contract, he's been playing really well. And if there's 6 points out of a playoff spot, I might hold on to him. He's really been a bright spot on this defense, and he really struggled in LA. And since coming over, I thought he's been played really well for the Flyers. And sometimes, I've said this before, sometimes all you need is a change of scenery and a change of a system to really get you going again. And I think he saw this as a new start, and he's taken full advantage of this. But for me, it's going to depend on who's available at the time and what the team needs are. Who's hurt, who's not hurt, who's ready, who's made the improvements in Lehigh that can come up and maybe help affect the team. I think at this point right now, based on how the team is performing right now, I'm still gonna sell off some pieces, and I'm gonna look at maybe buying in on maybe 1 or 2 that have any interest in possibly signing a longer term deal with the Flyers.
My opinion, I'm still selling because I get where people would come from. You're in a playoff spot, so wouldn't that make you a buyer? Honestly, no, I would still be a seller. And again, not just because of, like you were saying, Brian, of who's out there and whatnot on that side of it, but also on the side of, again, like Jonesy was saying, you got to know where your team's at. And yes, this team is playing a lot better than what was expected of them. But we also have to remember that by the time we get to the trade deadline, whether you're in a playoff spot or not, you start to kind of have a real true idea of what kind of team you have. I mean, by then you definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it's, do you risk the idea of screwing up plans that you have made for the future to try and hotshot your way into the playoffs and make a run? And that's only a maybe. That's a roll of the dice, really, if anything. And do what other Flyers regimes have done in the past when a team's playing better than they thought they would. Or do you do what you probably should do and steer clear of the gamble and say, listen, if the team makes the playoffs, great, but the last thing you want to do is start signing players to deals that you really shouldn't be signing them to. And also on top of that, too, the Flyer salary cap isn't exactly perfect right now. They're still relatively cap strapped for the most part. So, again, I don't know who you would be going out and signing anyway for any type of money. So I wouldn't even be considering that right now, just because of also cap situation too. But that's just me.
Which should get better this offseason. But yeah, I mean, conservative seller. That's where I would be. I'd be a very conservative seller.
Brad, how do you feel?
Well, I think I'm leaning more towards what Brian is saying. I totally agree with his points. However, if there's a star out there, okay, and he wants to play for Philadelphia, and he wants to re-up with them next year and play here long term, okay, I would consider it. Now again, it depends on who it is, okay. If it's that guy on the Flames, what's his name, Lindholm?
Oh, Elias Lindholm, yeah.
Yeah, if it's somebody like him, okay, you have a chance to get him. And when you talk to him before you make the trade, he indicates that he would like to go there and sign a long-term contract. I think that's a guy you probably might want to consider doing that and build a team around him. That's something you might want to consider doing. However, if you're just going for somebody that you have no intention of re-signing and giving up draft pick, no, that you don't do. And as far as some of the guys you might be wanting to get rid of, if you're in a situation where you can make the playoffs, why you shouldn't dump your top players? These are leaders. You have to have good veterans on your team when you're in a situation. Did the Flyers just score, or was that a highlight? That was a highlight. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had a couple of scary opportunities early on Kochetkov. They just couldn't get them in the back of the net. They almost
gave up a goal. They almost gave up a shorty before. I just turned on the hockey NHL network, and they were showing it live. But I would definitely consider trying to bring in a star if you can, as I said. But it has to be first of all the right guy, and it also has to be a guy who wants to be here, and also a guy who's really a difference maker. Okay, whom you can build a team around, and if that guy is out there, you definitely have to consider it. Now, I would look at the Flames. I would look at a couple of the players that are on the Flames and possibly consider it. But again, be careful. Don't do anything stupid. If there's nothing there, don't force it. And if there's nothing there and a deal can't be made to bring in a difference maker, then get rid of a couple of pieces who are tying up your salary cap somewhat and who you don't have any intention of building around. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, I agree on that one. So let's see here. Moving forward on the comments, typical Canucks starts saying, wait, oh God, imagine a rematch cup from 2011. Please no. Absolutely not, because that means the Bruins win the cup. Please no. Priz saying he has term, wanted to be here, send Cam back to Columbus and players for patch salary. Feels like he and Lane are on the outs there. Obviously referring to Johnny Gaudreau.
Johnny's been playing like garbage in Columbus.
I would.
It might have been a godsend that he didn't sign here.
Yeah, no, that's not a guy. That's not a guy that you want. You don't want Line A either. Okay, Line A to me is the kind of guy that if you're like ready to win the Stanley Cup, that's a guy you might want to try to get. But long term, he just doesn't seem to ever be committed. You know, he's one of those head case guys that sometimes he's out there showing up and playing great, and then other times he's just out there for a skate. I'd be very careful if I were the Flyers about him.
If I'm going to trade for somebody like that, I'm going to try and trade for a young star who's on an ELC. I know a lot of teams are probably not going to give up on some of those guys, but if you can go out and get a guy like that, a young guy that you can build around. I know you got Cutter Gauthier coming up soon. He still has to sign his ELC. You got Mitchkov coming over once he signs his ELC. I think both guys, once they get into camp, they're going to make their roster with the talent that they have and what they have been production-wise in their respective organizations and leagues. It's just you got to find that core. You know, again, a lot of teams aren't going to give up on guys like, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but he's the first guy that popped into my head. You go out and trade for a guy like a Lucas Raymond. Again, not saying that that's going to happen, because probably not, because he's a cornerstone for Detroit. But the idea is, you want to get younger, you want to get talent. If you can manage to give away minimal draft picks or even future draft picks for a guy like that, I'm all for that. I'm all for that, because you need to find a talent. This power play is really what is holding this team back. They're 0 for 2 tonight. They came into this game at, I think it was like 11% or something like that, for 29th in the league. We knew this power play was bad, but this team needs playmakers. There's talent. There's good role players, but you need to figure out a way to bring in some talent.
Yeah. By the way, Swoopy likes your ELC idea there, Bri. Hey, Eileen, how are you? Yeah, it is cold. It is very cold outside. Let's see here. Meanwhile, everybody in Chicago is just like, oh, stop bitching. Prism saying also, I'd rather them go for Huberdeau, but Bri just said someone's a change of scenery and system change, i.e. Walker.
Yeah, but
I would be
look at what he's done.
I'd be very out on Jonathan Huberdeau right now.
Send him to Nashville. Send him back to his coach, the coach that he's had the most success with. Send him to Nashville.
Yeah, that would be another. That would be. I'll tell you what, that guy Fantilli, if you could somehow get the Blue Jackets to trade him to the Flyers, that guy, I really like that guy. I know he's not lighting it up that much, but man, he's all over the place. He's the kind of player that if Tortorella had him, oh boy.
Penguin God Crosby fan saying, credit due, you guys drafted well. Gauthier is lighting it up in Boston College, and Barkey is lighting it up also. Can I recommend a good few players? Go look at Penn State's men's hockey. Berger is good.
Nice.
And he also says that Penn State has a goaltender the Flyers could use and some really fast kids. Could you look their stats up?
I'm on.
Well, not sure. Well, we'll look them up. Just which players are they? That's the question. Oh, well, the stats will show which ones to look at. Anyway, so why don't we shift on over? I know we're in the second period, but we're going to talk about a little bit of what we saw in the first and how it's playing out here in the second. Did the Flyers apply what they were supposed to apply from one period to the next? So, first period brought to you by, if you are looking to buy or sell a home or you have a change of career in brokerage, contact Alan Foy at eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy at exprealty.com. Always a big step in life. Do it right. Go to Alan Foy. All right then, gentlemen. So, first period, like I said before, it seemed like the Hurricanes came out with a really good flurry. However, eventually, the Flyers did round it back. Unfortunately, the Hurricanes scored in that early flurry. But since then, the Flyers have had a much stronger presence. Unfortunately, they didn't get a goal, but they had some opportunities. how do you feel that's transitioned from the first period to the second period? And was there anything else that really stuck out to you in that first period?
Well, I'll begin by saying this. I mean, tonight's hockey fight cancer, bringing awareness to the fight against cancer. And, usually you get a very choked up atmosphere. And that was also heightened by, they also had their junior hockey player sign the 1-day contract, Owen Michael. 9-year-old skating on the warm-ups or whatever. So the atmosphere was good leading up into the game, but as we predicted, we knew that this Carolina team was going to make adjustments and coming in and, really had to jump on a Flyers team that's been really good, has owned a large advantage in most first periods. I think they learned from the New York Islanders how advantageous that can be to take a first period here. Michael Button getting on the score sheet. And ultimately, I like the Flyers' response, in the game. I mean, basically looking at the shot breakdown, we got, the Flyers leading again 16 to 13 shots on goal. That really after that early flurry, withstanding that and being able to take the shots on goal lead heading into the second period, I think that was just really key and has made a difference here in a much more even second period that we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, here's a break. Konechny scores.
Nice. Good shit,
Boom.
DK. That's what we're talking about. That is what we're talking about right there.
Yeah.
That's breakaway.
Up 7-3 in shots and goal this period. So really, I think that really set the tone for the second period and finally gets paid off with the DK goal.
Agreed.
That's good news for the Rangers. We want Carolina to lose as many games as they possibly can for obvious reasons.
I'm sure.
Not that I'm underrating the Flyers, but I don't see them threatening us for first place.
That's okay. You guys can have first place. You can have the President's Trophy too. We wouldn't want that anyway.
If we can win that, that's fine. But I just would, as long as they, I just want the best record in the conference. That way, we get to play whoever the 8th place team is, and we don't have to go through some of the real strong teams in the first round. I want a weak opponent. Last year.
You say that now, Brad, but then you face that 8th seeded opponent in the wild card, and it just happens to be a team you guys have a hard time against.
Well, we'll see. We'll see who that ends up being. That's, I'm kind of hoping it's Toronto because then I know we'll get out of the first round.
That was such a TK goal. So the thing I liked about that goal is TK kind of snuck off the bench. They kind of lost sight of him. Great outlet pass by Forrester. Hit him right on the money, right on stride. And then TK just doing what he does and just sniping it low glove side. Great shot by TK. But I completely forgot where I was going to go with it. There was a point I was going to make, and then TK scored. Every time. The transition game has kind of been what's been killing the Flyers tonight a little bit. I mean, we know that Carolina is a little bit faster. I think the Flyers honestly have a little bit more skill. But the thing that's really bugging me most about this team, and especially on the first 2 power plays, really the power plays all season long, is they pass too much. I like setting up the goal, and I understand that, you're looking for the passing lane, you're looking for the shooting lane. But I feel like sometimes this team is looking for the perfect shot instead of just taking a shot and putting a puck on net and seeing what happens from there. I hate that, honestly. Throw the puck on net. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? He's going to make a save. It's going to get blocked in front. It's a 5-on-4. You're basically surrounding the entire defense. If it hits a defender, worst case scenario is they clear it down.
I mean,
you got to start over again, but you got to throw pucks on net. I think you're going to see a little bit more of that as this game goes on. They're going to start peppering a little bit more shots.
I think they also have to put somebody in front of the net, Brian.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's something that I kind of noticed when they played the Rangers, it seemed like they didn't. When they got on power plays, and they had enough of them, but they just didn't like the Rangers when they go on a power play. You'll notice two guys are always standing in front of the net. It's either Kreider on the first unit or Lafreniere on the second unit. They're always in front of the net when they're setting it up. So they have no problem taking shots on the point because somebody might be there to deflect it, and that the Flyers need to do that. That's you get somebody in front of the net, shoot it, and hopefully somebody can deflect it or get a rebound. Sometimes you should just shoot it so that if the goalie makes a save, there's a rebound and you might be able to score in the rebound. I mean,
right.
You also have to shoot it to the goalie's blocker side and not the glove side too. That would be a big help.
Right. And here's the thing too is and this is
fair
piggybacking off of what you just said. Yeah, I saw him skating off. You saw on the West Coast trip, the more recent one, that they did a very good job of doing that, and they started to score on a more of a regular pace. Morgan Frost had a couple goals through that series. Especially I think he had 2 in LA. Owen Tippett had a few goals throughout that entire series. Why? Because guys are getting in front of the net. If the goalie's going to see the puck, he's going to make the save 99 times out of 100. And that's not good. You want to cut out the view. You want to deceive him in some way. Breakaways are a little bit different, but for the most part, yeah, you need a body in front. You gotta cut the vision. You gotta cut the vision.
Yeah. Plus, you know what? Even if the shot gets blocked, Brian, sometimes you get puck luck, and it goes and it ends up going to up going to a wide open guy who has an open net to shoot at,
or goes in.
Yeah, I mean, because you never know.
Yep.
So, Flyers fan 1995 saying, I agree with Penguins fan, but yes, Penn State has a really good, nasty hockey program. That kid Berger he mentioned is really underrated, and the goaltender is headstrong. I have season tickets. Oh, nice.
Yeah, Christian Berger's his name. Played 38 games so far in the season. He's got 2 goals, 13 assists for 15 points. Looks like he's got 64 shots on the year. This other kid I saw looks like he's actually pretty good too is Kevin Wall. He's got 29 points in 38 games, 16 goals, 13 assists. Connor McEachran, 14 for 28 in 36 games. I mean, they got a pretty good program here. And then real quick, goaltending. Oscar Atillo is their goaltender. 312 goals against. He's got his save percentage is kind of low though. It's under 900. He's given up 71 goals on. It doesn't give me shots. He's made 591 saves. He's 10 and 13 on the year. But I mean, most of these guys are usually when they're playing college, a lot of them are usually drafted already. It's pretty rare that you find a goalie or a player getting drafted out of college. You might be able to sign as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, if they're undrafted.
Is Cutter Gauthier your property?
Yes, he was drafted by the Flyers. Yeah,
I just looked up something. Okay, on Boston College, just so that you guys hear this because this is interesting. Their first line is Gauthier, Will Smith, and Gabe Perreault. Now we know who all 3 of these guys are.
Wow.
Okay, that's a hell of a line. Okay, in 14 games played. Okay, Gauthier already has 12 goals and 6 assists.
Yep.
Okay, in 14 games. Okay, Will Smith. I don't know I forgot who drafted him, but 6 goals.
San Jose. Yep.
Okay, 6 goals, 13 assists, and Gabe Perreault, who by the way is the first round pick for the Rangers, has 3 goals and 17 assists. Sounds like he and Gauthier and Smith are one hell of a line.
Mm. Flyers.
How the heck did Boston College manage to get those three? I mean, they have 3 first-round draft picks on their first line.
It's got a great program.
Yeah.
A lot of guys don't
after
go.
Seeing that, they're gonna win the. They're gonna end up winning the college hockey.
It's like Michigan, man. It's a program that lures really good players. I mean, Michigan's got a really good team as well. A lot of guys they go to these programs because they don't want to go back to juniors, and it essentially is developing in the AHL in a lot of ways, depending on the program you're with. If you notice, I mean, Cam York spent minimal time in the AHL because he played in Michigan. Jamie Drysdale didn't spend much time in the AHL because I believe he played in Michigan as well. There's one other one. Adam Fantilli. He played in Michigan. Or was it his brother? I think it might have been his brother. But I think I'm pretty sure it was Adam. But anyway, 2 really, really great programs. So yeah, you're gonna lure those top prospects in, and they're gonna get the development they need to when they're ready to sign the ELC, the entry level contract. They don't have to really worry about spending too much time in the AHL because they're getting that development.
12 goals in 14 games. I mean, that is spectacular.
I got to see what Mitch Cobb is doing right now.
So, Flyers
I
fan.
I was just curious. I was just curious because I know, Perot happens to go to Boston College. So I wanted to see who he was playing with, because I heard he had 20 points in 14 games. I didn't, 3 goals and 17 assists is fine. I was just like, okay, so who were his line mates? Then I see 2 first-round picks. It's like, oh, okay. He's playing with some real high-skilled players.
So Flyers fan 95 also said Michigan had some good kids as well as Boston College, but the college hockey competition is shaping to be Boston College, Penn State, and Michigan as showing future generational prospects. So when Frozen 4 rolls around, keep your eyes on those schools. Might very well walk away with a national championship before it's all said and done.
I'll tell you, the Beanpot, I don't see anybody beating Boston College in that Beanpot tournament. I know that's a big one up in New England.
Certainly is.
So,
okay, so let's jump into the second period as the second period is continuing on and we're continuing to give our live reactions. So we'll slide on into that, which means we are going to take a quick break. And when we return, we will have more live reactions to the second period for you. Right now, it is still 1-1. 20 shots for the Carolina Hurricanes, 19 for the Flyers. And when we come back, we'll give you some more live reactions, and we'll get ourselves ready for the third period with some around the league news and a little bit of a review of the Rangers-Islanders games that the Flyers are coming off of. Until then, we'll be right back after this.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom-reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
Hats.com is the premier destination for quality and fashion-forward hats and more, with designs for every style and trend. Locally based and run by Philly sports team fanatics, Hats.com can help you elevate your hat john. Utilize the easy-to-use guides at Hats.com to find your perfect size and style, and shipping and returns are free. Hats.com. Find yourself in a hat. Use code Philly for 15% off your order. Hats.com.
In our family, food is our daily bond. My Nonna, affectionately called Mama by many, found solace and joy in the kitchen, sharing her love through delicious creations. She turned her culinary passion into a flourishing business alongside her husband and sons in 1983. Celebrating 40 years is a testament to our exceptional team, friends, family, and beloved customers. With gratitude, we look forward to the future, expanding our brand to share the highest quality Italian food and wine nationwide. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a part in our story. Grazie mille.
All right, so we're back here. And unfortunately, I wish I had better news for you. I do not. The Hurricanes have just scored. It is 2-1 now here in the second. A goal from Brendan Lemieux, the former Philadelphia Flyer. Of course, how fitting. Goes away to the Hurricanes, and he scores on his former team. Then again, though, if you showed how many former teams Brendan Lemieux's been on, it's practically the entire league.
Playing his first game of the season for the ill Andrei Svechnikov. That's funny how hockey works.
Oh,
yeah.
geez.
It is funny.
Yeah.
It is very funny how that works. I'm actually wondering who's going to end up playing for more teams, Lemieux or Domi, by the end of their careers, because Domi's already on his 12th team, I swear.
Oh, wow. I don't know that Lemieux's played on that many teams. He's played on, I think, 4, right?
See,
Winnipeg,
L.A., Philly,
Winnipeg, the Rangers, and the Flyers.
Meanwhile, Domi's played on the Coyotes, the Canadiens, the Maple Leafs he's currently on. I feel like he's played on more teams. The Canes. Dallas.
Canes. Yes. And Columbus.
That's right.
Columbus.
Yeah, that's right.
I forgot about that.
That's 6 teams. He's on 6 teams. And
the funny part, I think he's on a 1-year deal with Dallas.
Oh my God.
Oh, God. Like Corey Perry's got quite the collection these days too.
Yeah, but Corey Perry at least had that staying power with Anaheim, and now, well, we'll find out what's going on with him in a minute. But
he'll play for somebody else, but you know.
But it's like
the Blackhawks just can't have that kind of a distraction.
The Domi has but the differences between him and Domi and Lemieux is like they haven't really found a footing on a team. I don't know if Lemieux will. I mean, Domi is just like, okay, man, how long?
Domi's a good player. I don't get it. There must be something about his personality that keeps getting him, traded off of teams because he's got some talent.
Are you saying the son of Ty Domi can be a Cancer?
Possibly.
Really? I never would have thought that.
Actually, I heard he is actually a very good teammate and a very good guy to have in the locker room. He's just an agitator on the ice, just like his dad was.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Okay.
It's like Brendan Lemieux's dad was a kind of an agitator too.
Yeah, but his dad actually could play.
Oh yeah, I know he could. But that's what made him so annoying because he was such a punk, but yet he could score and score in big spots all the time, which made it just it's like Marchand. As much as we all hate him, he scores a ton of goals, and that just makes you hate him more.
Kyle, yeah, his dad did suck at hockey. All Ty Domi did was he just skated around and fought people. He was an enforcer in an enforcer's time.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He had a running rivalry with Donald Brashear, too. Let's see.
And Probert.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a death wish with Probert. he got lucky in one fight with Probert because he got him early in the fight with a left. And, Probert, he hurt Probert, and Probert kind of got beat up a little bit. But, like 5 times later, he got his brains beat in every time.
Let's see here. So Kyle also said, letting Brendan Lemieux score a goal means we deserve to lose tonight.
I mean, it happens.
Right. Mighty Ducks for Life 44 says Minnesota always has had a solid hockey program, which is true.
Yeah.
Their women's program is ridiculous.
You know what else has a good program is Wisconsin and Maine.
North Dakota as well.
Yeah, and Quinnipiac.
Yep. And Stars fans, Jackalope saying, what are the best NCAA prospects do you guys genuinely have interest in following? I mean, I definitely
just mentioned that one line in Boston College.
Right. I mean, that's very intriguing to see how their careers will play out, how Perot will do with the Rangers, how, Gauthier will do here in Philly, and how Will Smith will do out in San Jose.
I mean,
So that'll
those
be
are very
interesting.
high. Those are very high draft picks.
And he also says, me liking Boston College, I have Cutter as the guy so far with Smith. And Joe says, too much like his father for Domi.
Yeah, right.
And Sharks fan 77 says, do you like beached Sharks empty arenas, or sad fans then come over to the Shark Tank and my team blows bad even in a rebuild nuclear tire fire? Well, I mean, the Sharks weren't going to be very good going into the year. I don't think anybody expected 2 back-to-back 10 spots being put on them, but I mean, hey, listen, Sharks, it is what it is. You got to get bad to get good, and this is going to be a bad little run here for the Sharks until they get that talent.
Listen, they did beat
Rolled
the
in.
Capitals the other night, though.
They did, but again, I'm going to say this, like when they beat the Oilers, I think this says more about the Capitals than it does the Sharks.
Yeah.
So,
listen, you know what? They're a professional hockey team. They're going to win probably, between 10 and 15 games. And, the 10 or 15 opponents will stand out.
Right. Sharks says we don't have much NCAA hockey here. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll see a Northern California school that's represented in football. Maybe all of a sudden we'll say, hey, oh my God, they have a good hockey program. Everybody's going to throw their hands up like, how the hell did that happen? But anyway.
Jamaica has a bobsled team.
Yeah, right. And they medaled once. So there you go.
So there you go.
Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme. It's bobsled time.
Best part of that film was when they fall in the practice run. He's like, hey, you can go to the bathroom now. It's like, too late.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. We don't have much NCAA hockey here on the Pacific Coast, but I really like Boston College and Penn State. Good. Yeah, and hopefully Will Smith will pan out. It happens to us and one other team. And let's see. Me Metal Mike's here. Sup, fellas? Lots of college hockey talk. Loving the chaos. Oh, yeah. It got chaotic here real quick. But then again, that's just how it goes around here in the Hockey Happy Hour.
Just one thing I want to touch on real quick. Going back to the Brendan Lemieux goal. Why is it against the Carolina Hurricanes the Flyers always find a way to have a failed turnover or a failed clear that always turns into a goal?
Yeah,
Turbo
right.
Teravainen in game 1. And then tonight you got Brendan Lemieux and Scotty Lawton just trying to clear the puck, get it out of the zone. Hits the pad of Brendan Lemieux, and he's right there to just scoop it up.
Well, Swoopy does say it a lot that this team does not give you much breathing room. So that's just how they are. The Hurricanes love to press you. Any chance they get, they're going to press you. So, when you're trying to clear, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a cane staring you right in the face.
I was just watching that
They are
replay
guilty of
too,
bad
Brian,
turnovers.
though. Wouldn't you want to slide that puck to the corner boards instead of trying to shoot it up there? I think that, don't get me wrong, that's a bad bounce. It results in a bad, giveaway off a rebound off of Hart's blocker pad there. But if you scooch that to the boards, then you can battle it and clear it from there. You got to be a little more heads up than that.
No, I agree. And with that, and even though you can go a little step further, is Lawton has clear possession of the puck. Maybe you skate back behind the goal line and then scoop it up around the boards or something along those lines.
Do that too.
He should know better.
Reacted too quick on that.
He should know better because he's a veteran.
Yep.
Well, it's just like, listen, and Rob, I was teasing you guys on Friday that Sanheim should get another assist. I mean, that play he made where he passed it right to Kreider in front of the net. I mean, you gotta have a little bit more. You have to kind of watch where you're passing. You can't just blindly throw the puck and not pay attention to who's around either.
But you see that play done a lot in the NHL, and I'm surprised you don't have more people like Kreider jumping in on that play because it's a surefire goal. When you can jump that pass, you can't telegraph it the way Sanheim did.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, and probably the Rangers have probably saw that on film. I'm sure,
right? Right.
You know, that's not something you just guess at.
Right.
But I mean, you
Right.
can't always make that play. If you're going to make that play, you know, it can't be off of a face-off. That's
Right.
the problem.
Right.
If you're
Right.
going to make
Right.
that play, you know, you make that play when you make that play when the forechecker, when there's a forechecker maybe standing in front of you, then you make that kind of a play, but not off a face-off. I mean, that was
Right.
like, you know, I that was a perfect pass. I mean, you know, but I'm just saying as an example, those are the kind of plays that you just, if you're the Flyers, you can't afford to make those kind of passes.
Bobby just got called for a holding penalty on Jacob Slavin. So the Carolina Hurricanes will get a chance on the power play here to finish out the second period.
Great.
It's going to be a big kill.
Yeah. I don't know what Bobby was thinking there. He really did grab a hold of Slavin's arm. It's like, you can't do that, man. You just can't do that. So hopefully the Flyers will come up with a big kill here. Anthony said he liked watching roller hockey back in the day. Oh, what was it? That was the IHL, or no, it's the RHL. That's what it was. It was the Roller Hockey League back in the late 90s. I think that league was around. On ESPN2, it was on all the time.
Do you remember what goalie the Flyers got from that league?
No, actually, I don't.
Steve Mason.
Mason, really? Huh.
Yep.
I would have never realized that, actually. That's interesting. Did not
Yep.
know that. Learn something new every day.
Yep. I remember he was originally signed by Columbus, but he started there.
Huh. Interesting.
Huh. Yeah, I think that was when you traded for him, that was the trade where you traded what's his name, Bobrovsky.
Yes.
For him.
That worked out pretty well.
It did, actually.
In ways.
For Columbus, it definitely did.
Yeah.
Couple of Vezinas and a playoff series victory later, and everybody was like, "Oh, holy shit! This team's actually got something." Let's see here. Kyle saying sometimes the NHL feels scripted, like the WWE, where you see that crucial turnover and 20 seconds later it ends up in the net. As soon as you see that dude kick out of the finisher at 2, you know he's done for.
Good comparison. I see that in all sports, man. I think there's a lot of fixed things going on. It's always the same story on repeat, but Vince McMahon proud. You know what I mean?
Rough stuff here at the end of the period.
Yes.
Great job by Steeler to block that puck. I mean, he couldn't find it. It got lost in him. It's usually the best because they're not going to blow the whistle on it, at least not right away.
Yeah.
Right. Another close game. These teams play it close.
They do. Let's see here. Me Metal Mike saying Liam Solare is a goaltender to look up and keep an eye on. And let's see here. Me Metal Mike also said, who's behind the pipes for Boston College by any chance, fellas? Not sure. We can look that up. Ant also saying, does the Flyers PK have more goals this year than the power play does? I actually think so.
Yes, I think so.
It's true.
It's damn
I think they
true.
have the most shorthanded goals in the league, don't they?
Last time I checked, yeah. I think most of it all just stemmed from that one game in Dallas. All right, then. So that's going to wrap up the second period. So at the end of 2, the Flyers are down 2-1, unfortunately, off of a bad turnover at a really bad time, leading to a Brendan Lemieux goal. And so hopefully the Flyers can fire back here in the third period and not only tie the game up, hopefully take the lead before time runs out, maybe get themselves 2 big points in the Metro. But until then, we're going to slide on over to the third period. And here we're going to talk about the New York games that the Flyers have just completed and things that we want to bring up that we saw in that and the fun that was had in those games and sometimes the lack thereof fun. And the third period is brought to you by Alonzi Travel. specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls to. Let their talented team of travel experts create a custom vacation for you. Ritz and Chucks are the two gentlemen from A2D that you want to hit up and talk to about those vacation things, because they're the professionals at that. All right, so gents, the New York games that the Flyers just had, game 1, rough loss. A lot of it was because Sorokin was on fire. Second game, close, nasty battle with the blue shirts that did not go the Flyers' way. But again, hard-nosed battle that, Flyers did make the Rangers earn it. It was not an easy win.
No, definitely not.
And then
Igor just played out of his mind in the third period.
He did. Sure. He did. And then back to the aisle we go, and the Flyers take on another hot goalie again in Sorokin once again, but almost Sorokin stole it, but he did not. The Flyers win in a shootout with a nice little goal from Forster to end the evening, and the Flyers get that oh-so-important other point that was up for grabs there. So, gentlemen, what were the things you wanted to bring up after these 3 very intense games with the Flyers' New York rivals?
Well, I will say this. It kind of went exactly to script for me. I felt that the Flyers, who coming in undersized, they have a lot of smaller forwards. They're going to struggle against a really big team that's a really good, strong home team, too. In the New York Islanders back in the island, trying to prove that they belong in the Metropolitan discussion. They obviously did so in that game. But what I liked about it was the strategy that you come in, okay, you're facing the same team twice in a 4-game span, both in their building, and you come back and you're able to activate Risto. I think that was big, because now all of a sudden you're adding a big body to the back of your blue line, and you went bigger too in terms of your lineup, where you had all your big boys active, and you're sitting, I believe they sat Brink for that game. That's what I was looking up before you went to me. Yeah, he did sit for that game, so you were a little stronger up front, a little bigger up front, and you have Mark Stahl for all, he is still a big body, so. And it's not surprised that all of a sudden there was a little bit of a different result there now, right? Where it was really a battle between the goaltenders and a very strong defensive battle. A lot of block shots. And that's what's really been encouraging from this young Flyer squad, is the amount of block shots that this team is having now. Unfortunately, one of them caught Noah Cates in that game, and he's going to be out for some time because of it. But guys laying their body on the line, and they win basically a shootout 1-0 lead, which is just, the equivalent in hockey to a pitcher's duel. So I just like the adjustments from game to game, and they were able to split in the island, which is what we hope for, right? But what surprised me the most was that game could have easily been a 5-6-0 game like we've seen against the New York Rangers and Philadelphia Flyers in the past, after letting up those 2 goals in the first 2 minutes of that game. But for the Flyers to really stem the tide, bring it back, and make that a competitive game, Shesterkin having to stand on his head, to Brad's point, in the third period there, just again shows the intestinal fortitude that's building in this young squad.
Seems to be a Philly thing where teams just are resilient these days.
Yeah.
Great quality to have. You may be down and out, but you're not out. My big thing was, you kind of got into a little bit of a hole against the Islanders early on, and it kind of became a situation where you couldn't really pull yourself out completely. So obviously that's something you want to continue to avoid, especially against a team that's given up some goals, a team that was struggling to find some goals. Go down 2-0 early, and then you wind up, I believe, it was a 3-2 loss, I believe. Battled back again. The resiliency, kicks in, but dug yourself a little too deep. Just couldn't get out of it, especially against a goalie like Sorokin. You want to try and get on him early. But I mean, you split it. You did lose 2 out of 3. My goal was to win 2 out of 3. You knew what you were going to get against the Rangers, but I thought the Flyers played pretty well against them on Friday. But all in all, not a bad effort, not the results you wanted, but again, comes back to what I was saying earlier. As long as you put forward the effort, you're going to get the results later on. You may not get them right away, but you're going to get them later on.
Yeah. Yes, Slapshot Blackhawk fan throwing out CM Punk. Big return to WWE. That was, be honest. You know how they always say, you never say never. That's a perfect example of never say never right there.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see here. So, and to answer that question, Jacob Fowler is the goaltender for Boston College. So that answers that question. So, gentlemen, any other major things you guys wanted to pull up about the battles that the Flyers had with the Islanders and the Rangers these last 3 games?
Yeah, I think they should be commended the fact they didn't go 0-3. Because they could have easily gone. They could have easily. That is not easy to go into that building in Long Island twice, and then you're playing the Rangers, who were on a on a big time roll. Now the Rangers unfortunately lost last night, but that was a game where the Rangers had to play the Bruins the next day, and I thought maybe the Rangers might be looking ahead. Because obviously playing the Bruins would be for the top spot in the league, and
right.
They might be overlooking the Flyers, but the Flyers kind of, they came out and they were careless to start the game and put the Rangers on top, and from there, the Rangers didn't have to be their best, and they just kind of, after they got those 2 goals, I thought that they kind of let the Flyers take the game to them somewhat. I thought the Flyers played a pretty good game, actually, and again, I think that if they continue to just stay within their Tortorella system, I think he's made a pretty good system for this team. I think they're going to be okay. I'm a little worried about when they have to play the Devils, because I'm watching the Devils right now with the Islanders, and boy, the Devils are flying. By the way, the Devils power play now, guys, 37%. They've already scored 24 power play goals. So that is when they play the Devils. I have some big advice for them. Don't go to the penalty box. Stay out of the penalty box against that team. But you have to be happy with what happened. They represented themselves well, and you know what, they're definitely competitive. I think they're actually a little bit better than the Islanders right now. I'm watching the Islanders. They look kind of old, and defensively, if it weren't for Sorokin in this game, they'd be getting clobbered. They blew a 4-2 lead in the third period. It's now 4-4, by the way, in this particular game between the Islanders and Devils. And, that's something that you should be proud of, the fact that you probably moved ahead of them. You have to figure that the Capitals, they just lost TJ Oshie. I would think that they should be able to get ahead of the Capitals now, because the Capitals are starting to show some holes. And, obviously the Penguins, it's going to be a big series, but, the Penguins have really been up and down. And the Penguins, for whatever reason, their power play is horrible. I think their power play is like 1 for their last 20. You stop and think about who's on their power play right now. You've got Crosby, Letang. Who's the guy they got from San Jose now? I can't remember. Carlson. Who's the other one? Malkin, and now I'm missing.
Maybe a return on Brian Rust.
Well, Brian Rust was injured, but
yeah, he came back tonight.
No, the other one, Jake
Gensel.
Yeah.
Gensel, yeah. You have those 5 guys on your first unit, and you go 1 for 20? How is that possible?
Right. Yeah.
Think about that. Crosby, Letang, Malkin, Gensel, and wow, and Carlson. They've been 1 for 20. So you know what? I wouldn't be afraid of them too much. I think the Flyers have a chance to do well with Pittsburgh. So get through this game, try to at least get a point. At very least, if you're going to lose, at least get the overtime point. And when you play the Devils, just stay out of the penalty box, and you should be able to at least split with the Penguins.
So, all right, we'll see if that happens.
I mean, yeah, I think that they did prove a point this weekend. In the New York series, those are 3 tough games. And they could have very easily won 2 out of the 3 games. And had they not come out sleepwalking in the first 2 minutes of the game against the Rangers, who knows what could have happened? As I said, the Rangers were definitely looking ahead to the Bruin game, I thought, and they could have, as I said, I think they were vulnerable that game.
Gotcha. All right, gents. So now we're going to transition over to the OT. So OT, that will be brought to you. Well, first, for all those who have been chiming in, thank you guys out there in the fam. You're brought to you by Gleason's Bar, located 6700 Mill Creek Ave in Levittown, PA. If you have anything that you want to get food-wise and you're in the PA area and you need Levittown, that's where you want to go. Good food there. And Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, bringing you the OT. And the OT is not the shootout, believe it or not, this go-around. Actually, this time we're going to go around the league here. And going around the league, a couple of topics we wanted to talk about. And one of the big ones is, of course, the Corey Perry situation. So, Bri, I will let you take this one since I know you looked up some things on that, and take it away.
Tough situation in Chicago, especially after all that Kyle Beach stuff going on over there. So rumor kind of broke out earlier in the week that Corey Perry had a we'll call it a situation with a teammate's mother. Rumors kind of went all over the place, whatever, and that's Corey Perry took a leave of absence from the team. Come to find out earlier this afternoon, Frank Cervelli tweeted out that Corey Perry was placed on waivers for purposes of contract termination after what deemed as conduct that is unacceptable. So we'll go real quick because I know we're really pushing up against it here. After internal investigation, this is from the Blackhawks organization, by the way. After an internal investigation, the Chicago Blackhawks have determined that Corey Perry has engaged in conduct that is unacceptable and in violation of both terms of his standard players contract and the Blackhawks' internal policies intended to promote professional and safe working environments. As such, Corey Perry has been placed on unconditional waivers. In the event Mr. Perry clears waivers, we intend to terminate his contract effective immediately. Rumors started, going rampant, and I'm one of them who jumped on the train. Oh my God, he really did sleep with his teammate's mom. It's a Lindros Brind'Amour situation all over again in Chicago.
Yes,
Come to find out, Kyle Davison, GM of the Chicago Blackhawks, came out and said earlier this afternoon, shortly after all this started swirling, just some quotes from his presser. I'm reading all this stuff off of Puck Report NHL on Instagram. A couple quotes is, this does not involve any player or their families. Anyone who suggests otherwise is inaccurate and frankly disgusting. He also goes on to say, I can't get into any specifics because this is an individual personnel matter. NHL and NHLPA were understanding an informed team decision. The players don't have any details at all, so obviously they're not going to – they're going to ask, but nobody's going to give them anything. But over the last 24 hours, what's gone on, rumors, have been very disturbing, and I feel like I'm wearing that. It's tough to see. So with all that being said, it's also come out that he has potentially come on to female team personnel as well. And if we know anything from the Kyle Beach situation – this is no longer going to be tolerated in the organization. Not that it ever should have been. but Corey Perry more than likely will clear waivers. He will have his contract terminated. And in all honesty, I would not be surprised if Corey Perry's career is now over.
Yeah, I would not be surprised either.
Keep it in your pants, man. Come on.
I know. I was pulling this out too. I was going to call him a legend, but that's not legends don't do that. Legends don't do that.
I mean, listen.
Have you seen Connor Bedard's mom though?
Mm-hmm. That's why I was going to call him a legend.
But in all seriousness, though, I mean, listen. I like women too, but you know what? Listen, there's a time and a place for this, and the workplace is not one of those. And you can't be screwing around with, what's supposed to be your teammates. That's your teammate's mom. It's like that's not gonna end well. That's really not gonna end well. Doesn't anyone know that? It's like you fuck around with any lady that is in the working environment or anywhere near the periphery of the working environment. That is never gonna end well. Usually that means you getting a pink slip.
Though?
Usually.
Why would his mom do that though?
Well, that's the thing. That's just a rumor. That rumor was not true. Apparently
that's not exactly Mother of the Year material there.
But again, that's not what happened. He shut down those rumors. It did not have anything to do with any player or anybody's family. It had to do with apparently female personnel within the organization.
Oh, sexual harassment? Probably.
Basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Marco said, I'm thinking of contract terminations. I think of guys like Mike Richards and Jarrett Stoll and their situation involved with drugs, correct? Yes.
But the thing is, too, real quick, because I know, like I said, we got to wrap this up. This is a situation in an organization that is still fairly newly out of the Kyle Beach situation where he had his stuff going on inside the locker room, inside the organization that kept hush-hush. So now that this is happening with Corey Perry, they got to look a little bit more at it, and they're going to investigate a little bit more. And they're going to shut that shit down real quick because they don't want another situation like that again. That really hurt the integrity of that Chicago Blackhawks organization at that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and also Joel Quenneville ruined his career as a coach. I mean,
he hasn't coached since.
No.
And I mean, on top of it as well, apparently in that organization and in that locker room with that team, guys were sleeping with each other's wives and getting into fights over it and everything. It's like, it's not an environment you want to foster. And so that's kind of that environment that Corey Perry was bringing into the team that they need to keep away from the team, especially a team that's young and you're trying to build it back up. So very good idea for the Blackhawks. Very good move by the Blackhawks here to say no more of that shit. It's done. So they did the right thing, and that's that. One last thing before we leave too. Also, Milan Lucic is no longer. I don't know if he's been released by the Bruins, but he left the Bruins due to the fact that he was apparently beating his. Not his wife. Was it his wife or was it his girlfriend?
His wife.
His wife. So he's been. I don't know. Did the Bruins terminate his contract officially, or did he resign from the Bruins?
I don't think either. I think he's just taking time away.
Okay.
To get his stuff right. Apparently, he was under the influence of alcohol and wound up choking out his wife.
And he has been charged with assault. So. I mean, hey, that's just
not
right. Not good at all. Not a good look for Milan Lucic at all.
Also, Minnesota fired their coach.
That too.
Yeah.
And
John Haynes made his debut, I believe, tonight.
He did.
They're up 2-1.
Hines, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, speaking of Hines and the Devils just took the lead against the Islanders with 22 seconds to go. Curtis Lazar made it 5-4 Devils. So the Devils are playing some good hockey now. 3 goals in the third period. By the way, the Islanders are now minus. I think they were minus 14 going into this game in the third period. though giving up those 3 goals would make them minus 17 in the third period.
Wow.
A great play by Pesci right there, by the way. Sorry, go ahead, Maddie.
I was just going to say, so with that, that will conclude overtime and finish out this.
There's one last thing.
One last thing. Okay, sorry. Go
and
ahead.
I feel like it's a little fitting for Robbie to give this one away if he knows
Robbie,
where I'm going with it.
My apologies. Go ahead.
For news for around the league.
Your favorite player got signed today.
Oh, Patrick Kane.
Mm-hmm.
For the Detroit Red Wings. Yeah. Is that official?
That's official. It's a done deal. 1 year, 2.075, I think, was his salary for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about being a Buffalo fan now after hearing all of that speculation he was going to sign with Buffalo and now he signs with the Red Wings? That's got to feel like a little bit of a kick to the nuts, just a little bit.
Wants to play with Big Cat again.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh,
makes total
play with
sense.
Big Cat
Good
again.
fit. It's a good fit. They might be minus Dylan Larkin, who's day-to-day right now. I don't think it's a long-term injury, but I think anytime you could bring a guy with his experience in, you know, a guy that might be a lot healthier than the last time we saw Patrick Kane, could be a game changer.
Agreed.
Is he going to be playing tomorrow night when the Rangers play him?
I don't think so. I don't think he's back yet. I think he's just
I was
skating.
just
I don't think he's doing
wondering,
anything yet.
They are playing the Red Wings tomorrow night.
Ooh. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but I don't think Kane's playing yet. I don't even think he's practicing yet.
Oh, all right.
Adam Fox is back, right?
Adam Fox is back. So that'll be that. I'll tell you what, Rob, if you would have told me that Fox was going to miss 10 games and the Rangers would go 7-2-1, I would have signed for that in a minute.
Yeah, right.
The only thing I'm surprised about is that they lost to the they lost to the Wild and they lost to the Sabres. I mean, don't quite understand some of these games that they lose, but whatever.
All right, guys. So that'll do it for overtime. We thank all the fam out there for chiming in. A great show as always because you guys make it great out there. Thank you very much. And when we come back to you next Tuesday for the Hockey Happy Hour, we will have a game to not live react to. Okay, that's the wrong team. Sorry, I have both the Sharks and the Flyers in my calendar. My bad. That was the Sharks game. They're at the Long Island. They're playing the Islanders that day.
Addy.
What?
Why do you not have the Flyers schedule up first? What are we going to do with you?
No. I have them both. No. I have them both inserted in my calendar, and neither one of them showed a description of whether it's a Flyers or a Sharks game. I thought because of the time it was a Flyers game. It was not. It was a Sharks game because they're playing the Islanders. Anyway, so with that being said, we will not have a game to live react to next Tuesday, but don't worry. We'll have plenty of stuff for you guys. We'll have a third period segment for you, and we'll have plenty of games to review when that time comes, especially with the Devils and this Penguins home and home coming up. All right, then. We thank you all for joining us for another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We will see you guys next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Until then, you stay safe, you stay healthy out there, ladies and gentlemen. It is flu season, so definitely stay safe and stay healthy. And here is just a little info on how you can become an A2D member and get a few perks. So commit that to memory, and we will see you guys next week. Until then, peace and love, everyone.